everyone, it's Tambarambaa here again today with another bright art journal page for using lots of Art by Marlene products. Like most of my work, I use loads of colour and layers to build up the background. So I start with the artist sized journal and just grab a page out of there, and then I grab the extra large golden oldies pack and I just select that cute little girl. I love the little girls that Marlene creates, and I grab her out and just a few little bits like a bow and some flowers. I end up not using all of those, but I always am never sure where the page is going to take me. So then I grab out one of the collage books with the collage paper. This one is from Marlene's World collection, and I just had a bit of leftover paper that's, you know, all gorgeous and bright, and I love sort of tearing that into little sections and placing it on my page and using that as a jumping off point. So that's kind of the start of building that background, because sometimes a really blank white page can be a little daunting, and adding that first lot of colour can be a little scary. So this way it's there for you, and of course Marlene uses all her mark making and stuff, so a lot of it is done. So I adhere those with some gel medium, and now I come in with some acrylic paint colour. So I started with a softer pink called Peony, and then I added a little bit of the orange, which is your hot curry, a bit of yellow, which is happy, and then Ballet is that beautiful bold pink. Oh, and now I've come in with some blue, which is Mermaid. So I'm just kind of drawing little bits of colour from the paper that's there. So there's little touches of orange, and there's touches of blue and pink, and a little bit of yellow. So I'm just sort of bringing that out. I'm not thinking too much about it at this point. It does look a mess, but that's okay. This is just one layer. So using that little girl, I've just cut around her because I just wanted to remove the white bit around her, and then I've come in with some white over, kind of working out where I want to put her, and then I've added white to the background there, and that's just to help her have some light behind her so she sits up off the page a little bit. So I really liked the little bit of white on all that colour. It felt like it broke it up a bit. So then I added some white sections to other parts of the page, and I'm using a stencil that Marlene designed for the Crafters Workshop. I think it's called Brick Poetry. So I'm just popping paint down and then rubbing it with a wet baby wipe to remove some of the paint, and you're left with those gorgeous patterns. So I also came in with a bit of aqua over the pink and a bit of the pink over the aqua, and I really like how that just adds some texture to the background. So now I decide to stick the girl on, and I stick her on just raised a bit, because I think given I'm using the larger journal, she just was getting a little bit lost. So I wanted her to sit up a little bit off of the page, not so close to the bottom. So now I'm coming in with some mark making stamps. So these are from the Mixed Media Play set. There's a little circular one there that I'm just stamping sort of randomly in little clusters, so not all over the page, but just working in, I think, maybe 5 clusters, and keeping the stamp, repeating the stamp so that it creates some mark making of my own. And I just love her gorgeous pink and purple hair. So I've come in, I've grabbed the Ballet, which is the pink, and I've grabbed Punk, which is the neon purple, and I've kind of mixed them together a little bit, and I just decided to give her gorgeous flowing hair up the page, just because, as I said, she was in that bottom corner a bit, so I wanted her to sort of be the focal point. So I just decide, let's continue that beautiful hair on. So I come in just building layers, because that beautiful punk colour is transparent, because it's a neon. You do need to build it up a little bit, but the impact is gorgeous. So then I decide it's time to add a bit more mark making. So with a bit of yellow, so that's the happy paint, I just come in with the brush, one of the flat brushes, and I just make a few marks around the page, and you can see that this really lifts it. I think having that little bit of white behind her and then adding bits of yellow, it just creates that balance of depth and dark and light. I've also come in with the stamp Writing on the Wall, which is that grungy text, and just place that next to the other stamping I'd already done. So again, I want to try and keep those clusters as much as possible. Okay, so now I'm using a stamp from Mix and Match Dotty Flowers from Marlene's Essentials range, and it's a large circular shape. So I want it to look like it's coming behind her hair and head. So I'm just using a little bit of scrap paper, that's what that red paper is, and I'm just holding it over her hairline so that the stamp looks like it's coming out from underneath. So I do that to the sort of along the bottom and then up the top as well. Now I add some extra little stripes to her top just to continue that down. And then I've come in with a little bit of the Smurf paint, which is that beautiful deep blue, just to touch up that hair a bit and add a few more sort of shadows and textures. And I do the same again with the Ballet, the pink. So that will just add, you know, your darks and your lights and sort of natural highlights to the hair. So now I've got a bit more of the Ballet, which is the pink, and I'm doing a little bit more mark making again. Not thinking too much about it, just in a few little spots around the page. And then I'm just outlining her features, so around her top and around her hair. And I will do this with like a fine black paint pen, and I'll also do it with a bold one as well and a little bit of white, so you'll see that sort of come together. But I want some thicker lines and some thinner lines, and some of the lines around her hair I want to come off of her hair, so to be outside of the colour zone, because that just creates that sort of windswept movement to her hair. So while I'm doing this, you might have noticed that I'm using an acrylic stamp block to put my paint on. So I had a few people comment that my black background that I usually create on is just a bit, things get lost on it. So I'm just trying some white paper in the background, and hopefully over time that will become really colourful and I can do something with that as well. But just so you could see me adding the paint, I've just been popping it on an acrylic block, and that works really well because it's like a little paint palette there. So now you can see I'm still outlining features and her eyes and more work on her hair, but it's really starting to come together at this point. This is when I look at it and think, now what am I going to do now? Okay, so then I decide to add some of the white paint, which is lace, into the center of those circles that I stamped earlier. So I say this in every video, but bringing some white back into your page, so making sure you've got some black and white is the secret to making lots of colors not look like a mess. So you need those neutrals to balance it out. So while I'm waiting for that white to dry, because I'll do another coat, I just come in with a little bit more of the orange and a little bit of the neon green, which is called Glow. And I'm just adding it with using my finger into just a few little sections of the background, just where I felt like it needed a pop of colour. And the beauty, as I said, of those transparent neon paints is they won't cover anything up. They will just sit on the surface and add sort of depth to colours and make other colours pop. So I'd be lost without my neon paints. Now I want to add a quote to her. So I kind of hadn't left anywhere to do that, and I had something in mind while I was creating this page. So I've actually just been going through some stuff that needed processing through my art, which is how I sort of self-care and how I deal with things. And this quote was just standing out to me. So it's not one of Marlene's, but it's one that I love, and it says, kindness is loaning someone your strength instead of reminding them of their weakness. So from Marlene's set, which is called Text Play, there is a little quote on there that says share kindness. So I wanted to use the kindness as for my quote. So what you saw me doing there was just covering up the share with some washi tape. So then I've used the stamp kindness, and then I've written the rest in by hand. And what I was doing while I was talking before, I added the little bow to her hair, and I also just went around some of those black and white circles with black pen because I was a bit wonky when I put the white paint on. Okay, so then I love this bit. I just used the white paint to add a few dots to her hair, and I simply did that because it was actually I had a few marks where the collage paper was, where I'd gone wonky and I didn't like how that looked. So those little white dots really make it come together, but they actually were there just to cover something up. So what I've done just in that while I was talking then is I just added that share kindness stamp, and I just stamped it in little sections throughout my page, so just in little clusters again. So I like that it's a bit of a background stamp, so I haven't put lots and lots of ink on it because I want it to be a little bit faded. So then again, I'm just using the black paint just to go around the edge, and I want it to look a bit grungy, so I've brought that black down a bit by just spreading it with my finger. And then there's a little teeny tiny heart stamp, cluster of hearts, that I'm using where the black has come over the border. I've actually gone in with that stamp just to continue that on. So that's about it. I love the background, and as you can see, when I was creating it, I had no idea where it was going, but look what happened. So yeah, I'm really happy with this page, and I hope it inspires you. So I'll be back again soon.